special edition of the Diggin Up Bones Podcast. Today we have a legend in the country music field, an icon, a singer that's been on the country music scene for over 6 decades. He has worked with some of the greatest in the country music, such as Skeeter Davis, Liz Anderson, Roseanne Cash, Charlie Daniels, even his son Bobby Bare Jr., Waylon Jennings, Jerry Reed, and his personal friend Mel Tillis. And most recently, Chris Stapleton. His latest album, Things Change, is already being called one of the best albums of the year. And he will soon have his own podcast. Here is our exclusive interview with Bobby Bare.
All right, and welcome aboard the Diggin Up Bones show here, guys. I've got a special guest with me, Mr. Bobby Bare, today. You doing all right, Mr. Bare?
I'm doing great.
Doing great. I got a funny story to tell you today. I go to a 4-year university in my hometown, and I was headed home. Today from class, and I knew he was interviewing you earlier today, and I was singing the song Detroit City, and you know, in that line it goes, "I want to go home, I want to go home." Well, I got in my car coming back home, and guess what song was on the radio when I got in the vehicle?
I want to go home.
Detroit City was on the radio. How about that? That's crazy, ain't it?
Well, that happens sometimes.
It does, don't it? That's funny how music does that to you. But I was going ahead and starting off with a question here, Bobby, if you don't mind. Not only have you been a fixture in country music for 60 years, but you are still releasing new songs. You and Chris Stapleton just released a video in January of this year for your latest song, I Drink. So on this topic, what are some of the similarities and some of the differences you've noticed about walking into a studio to record now versus walking into one in the 1960s?
Well, in the 60s, you would go in with, you do it all at once. There was no overdubbing. You do it all live. All the Nitty Gurr singers and the strings and everything would be right there. And your performance was live. When you finished it, all they do is a quick mix and put it out. Now they can go in and one person can play every instrument and you can overdub. It's unlimited.
Right, I guess the technology has really, surpassed its time, I guess is what you're saying.
Technology has gone crazy.
Yeah, I like the new song you got out, Drink. I like to watch the music video about a couple weeks ago, and it's really, really touching video. Can you kind of give us some more dialogue on that song, possibly?
Well, the song was written by Mary Gaucher. She's a girl who wrote the song, and it's about how you inherit what you are from your parents.
Right.
And, of course, that's what the dad sits around and drinks all the evening, and it's in your genes, and the chances of you doing that are pretty good when you grow up. That's what that song's about. Kind
of like a hereditary thing, I guess. You got to get alcoholism passed down, I guess.
Runs in the family.
Yeah, I hear you there, so... Also, I never get, on another subject, I never get tired of hearing the story of how you scored a number 2 single, All-American Boy, by accident. You didn't even get any credit for that. Can you tell us again how that happened?
Well, it was a mistake. We were doing demos for another guy, and I was writing the song, and there was about 15 minutes left on the demo session, so I said, well, let me put this down. And before I forget it. So I stepped up to the microphone and counted it off, and we put it down. I was making a lot of it up as I was going along. It was about getting drafted into the Army when you're a rock and roller. And it was about the same time Elvis went in the Army and came out, when you ship a record to the radio stations one day, and 4 days later it could be the biggest record in America. Exactly what happened. And there was a friend of mine whose name was on it. He called me up. I had to go in the Army 2 or 3 days later. Well, I was in basic training at Fort Knox, and he called me up, and he said, that record is such a big hit. And he said, I don't even know the song. And they want me to do it on Dick Clark's American Band. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, do it. Take money and run, maybe buy you a car or something. I said, I'm in the Army, I can't do anything. And so he did. He lip-synced my voice on the American Bandstand. And it was horrible because it was a talking record. And you can't lip-sync talking anyway. And I told him, I said, it's only rock and roll. It'll be forgotten in 6 weeks. Here we are still talking about it 60 years later.
Bobby, you were inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2013 with Cowboy Jack Clement and Kenny Rogers. Did you ever think you were going to reach such a landmark status in country music?
No, I never really thought much about it, you know. I was as shocked as anybody. The guy from the CMA called me up and said I was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I couldn't believe it because I had never pursued it. And I was shocked as I could be. I told my wife, and she got emotional. And all my family. One of my little granddaughters said to me, said, Papa, what's this Country Music Hall of Fame thing? What does that mean? I said, well, that means that your papa is going to be famous forever. when you're grown and you got children, you can go down to the Country Music Hall of Fame, and you can point up on the wall and say, that's my papa that loved me very much.
Wow, that's special, ain't it?
They got me up on the wall down there right by Elvis and Brenda Lee.
That's something else, ain't it?
Good company.
That is very good company, but yeah, that's
yeah, it's a big deal. Getting bigger all the time.
Bobby, when I think of Bobby Bare and I think of Bobby Bare music, I think of how many people you helped kickstart their career. You were involved with a lot of huge songwriters before they were famous, such as Shel Silverstein, Billy Joe Shaver, and the aforementioned Jack Clement. You also had a hand in the early part of Waylon Jennings' career with RCA and helped, if I remember correctly on this, discover Barbara Mandrell. Talk a little bit about some of those you may have given a little help to along the way.
Well, with Waylon, I met him out in Phoenix, and I thought he was great. And I played him for Chet Atkins, and then I called Chet and pressured him, and I was able to get Waylon his record deal at RCA, and we were friends then, and we remained friends until the day he passed on. He was a good guy. He wasn't really an outlaw. He was a soft-hearted guy. He was nothing like what he looked like.
Right.
And Bill Joe Shaver, you know, he was crazy from the get-go. He was a great songwriter. At the time in my office downtown, Tom T. Hall was in my office.
Oh, wow.
Time when he was starting out. And, Tom was part of my band.
Oh, okay.
He played bass in my band.
Really?
Then he became a star. Oh, he's great. He's still with us.
Yeah, he is. I actually got I sent him an LP. He autographed 2 of my LPs the other day, so that's pretty neat. He lives in Franklin, so.
Yeah, well, he's always lived out there.
Right.
He's always lived in Franklin.
Right.
I go out and see him every now and then.
Okay.
He's just a gentleman, retired. He won't do anything. The last thing he did is he inducted me into the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow.
That's how retired he is. He hasn't done anything since 13. He's kind of a hermit. Get out now.
I talked to his son. He said that all he does is kind of sit home and feed his chickens and paint is what he does.
Yeah, well, also he has a garden.
He has a garden.
He'll work in the garden. He loves that.
Right. So correct me if I'm wrong. Did you kind of help discover Barbara Mandrell?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
Okay.
I've known her since she was a child, but I think Joe Mavis is the one that helped her a lot.
Okay.
And I still see Barbara every now and then, and my daughter went to school with her daughter, and they're still friends. Okay. But I wasn't active in her career.
Okay, I was not for sure about that. What about? Kind of give us a little bit of your relationship with you and Shel Silverstein.
Well, Shel is a brilliant, creative person, or was. He's no longer with us. He's written so many great songs, like A Boy Named Sue, cover the Rolling Stones, Sylvia's Mother, you name it, he's written it. And he wrote a whole album for me.
Oh, wow.
One period of time I was looking for a great songwriter to write me an album. And Shell is the first one to respond, and he wrote, it turned out to be a double album. The album was called Lullabies, Legends, and Lies, and it had songs in it like Daddy, What If, a song I did with Bobby Jr. when he was 6 years old. And he wrote The Winner.
Okay.
He wrote Marie Laveau also.
I do know here at that. I was going to ask you. We lost a great contributor in country music last December in Mel Tillis. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I may have heard you say in the interview that Mel helped really launch your career with the song Detroit City. Tell us more about you and Mel's relationship.
Well, Mel was the first guy I met when I came to Nashville. So we go back that far. And I do, even though I'd had a couple pretty big hits before Detroit City, that particular song was one that jump-started my career, and I went on to have 500 Miles Away from Home, and Marty at Lincoln Park Inn, and Miller's Cave, all those hits, and I do believe that Detroit City's one that jump-started it, because even though I'd had a couple hits before then, the people loved the record, but they wasn't that interested in who it was singing it. But when Detroit City came along, they became interested in who is that, and so they gave me a name. And Mel and I have been friends ever since. He's the one who introduced me to fishing in Florida. I've been doing it since the 60s. First boat I ever bought was from Mel. I went down to see him before he died. He was living in Florida. He was sick for a couple of years. Matter of fact, when he got sick, I filled in for him on a couple of dates. And then I went to his funeral and he brought back. We miss him. I miss everybody. Everybody that I started with, my peers, they're all gone except Willie and Chris. And Loretta's still with us, but just barely. So it's getting a little lonesome.
I hear you. You still got some people like Tom T around, and I don't know. Did you ever do anything much with the Statler brothers?
Oh yeah, I did. They had their TV show. Did that a lot, and did a lot of shows with them. They're a great bunch of guys.
Sure. What hits you mentioned up? You had some you had some hits before Detroit City really propelled you. But what was some of them hits that you had before you met Mel and that song really took you off? What were some of them?
58, 59 was a song called The All-American Boy.
Right.
And in 62, I had pretty much a pop hit called Shame on Me for Hurting You. And then the next year, after Shame on Me, I had Detroit City. So it caused the record company to really get behind me and push me. But the two that I had before that was All-American Boy and Shame on Me.
I've grew up on classic country hits my whole life. I'm just a young whippersnapper, as you might say, but I've grew up with good country music such as yours my whole life. And first time I ever remember hearing one of your songs, I was riding the car with my dad. I guess I was about 10, and I said, "What is this song about this person in Louisiana? This Marie Laveau? Who is this?" And my dad told me, "That's Bobby Bear." I said, "That's Marie Laveau." And I was going to ask you. I said, I always think, when I think of Bobby Bear, I always think of Marie Laveau and, those tall tale songs like you did Paul, like you did, about Paul Bunyan. And I know Shel Silverstein and Baxter Taylor wrote Marie Laveau, but give us a little background on that number one hit, Marie Laveau. And hey, and I'm going to ask you another question, but was it recorded live? Because it sounded like it recorded live on the radio version.
Actually, what it was is after I had recorded it, I got a whole bunch of people in the studio, and I recorded and played them the record, and recorded their reaction to it. It wasn't me actually performing in front of an audience. It was me playing the record in front of an audience and recording their reaction. And of course, we got everybody drunk. Pretty well all up.
Obviously, I know the storyline behind the song and stuff like that, but kind of tell me, like, how did it get brought up? I mean, like, did Shell come to you and say, hey, Bobby, I got a song I think you need to record?
Oh, no, we were doing an album, and Shell wrote the whole album.
Yeah, Shell, okay, the whole album.
Lullabies, Legends, and Lies album. And it was just part of the album.
Okay.
It was, she was a legend, and Lullabies, Legends, and Lies.
Okay, right.
So it was part of the legend part of the album.
Oh, the Paul song on there as well?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
That's a legend, Paul Bunyan.
Right, legend Paul Bunyan. I love that song. That's a good one. All right, I'm gonna ask you a few more questions here, Bobby. What if this is kind of just random questions, really not about you, but if you had, what was your first album that you purchased?
I bought single records. I couldn't afford albums.
Okay.
First record I ever bought was The Wild Side of Life by Hank Thompson.
Oh, okay.
Second record I ever bought was Colliders by Hank Williams.
Hank Sr.? That's right. That's a good one.
Next record I bought was Blue Suede Shoes by Carl Perkins.
That's a good one for sure. So I guess you just had a bunch of 45s, I guess, growing up, didn't you?
Well, I was moving around so much I didn't really get to keep them.
Okay.
But 45 is what I was interested in.
Right. Well, here's another one. What was the first concert that you attended that you can remember?
I went to see Little Jimmy Dickens. I had a little band, and I took my little band. We went to see him in Charleston, West Virginia, and he treated us so good, so nice, introduced us to all the guys in the band, and he was just wonderful guy, and I became really good friends with him throughout the years, and we fished together all the time.
Right.
We got older.
Right.
Jimmy Dickens, we certainly miss him.
He was a good one, Opry star for sure. Where is you talking about fishing a little bit? Let's ask where do you like to? Where's your favorite fishing spots? But Florida or something like that.
Well, I go to Florida every January and fish a whole month, and then a couple weeks out of the year in August I'll go to Lake Mille Lacs, Minnesota, and chase smallmouth. And I've lived for 50 years right on Old Hickory Lake, but it's my least favorite lake. Dale Hollow Lake is about an hour and a half from here.
I know where that's in Byrdstown, Tennessee.
Yes, it is.
I know exactly where that is.
That's my favorite lake.
That's a really good lake for fishing. So.
Yes.
You done any peacock bass fishing in South America or anything like that?
No, I've never wanted to.
Okay.
I never wanted to go down there for that.
You fished with Bill Dance or Jimmy Houston or any of them guys?
Oh, yeah.
Now you have. They're good.
I know all those people. I do the theme song for Roland Martin's television show.
Okay. You've been a great one to interview, and I really appreciate you taking your time to be with us. We've surely enjoyed it, and I know our audience will enjoy it too. But this is, maybe you might answer this same question you might have the same answer for the one your questions you just answered. But what would be one album if you had to take one with you on a deserted island? Which one would it be?
An album of my own?
Oh, of any, if your own or any. Which one would you take to a deserted island if you could only take one album?
I don't know. Because it's all simple songs that I like.
Right.
Individual songs.
What would be one individual song you take with you then?
I don't know, because the ones I love, I know them myself and I can sing them.
Right. I hear you there. One of my buddies that I grew up with around here, around Cookeville area where I live, I'm Cookeville, Tennessee. His dad was best friends with your son Shannon, and he told me to tell you that his name's Keith Paisley. He said they grew up right down the road from you or something. I think is what he told me. So.
Oh, they did. I know them really well. They're twins.
Yeah, they're twins. Jackson and their sons are Jackson and James.
They're great athletes also.
They are great athletes. One of them, I'm real good friends with. One of them goes to University of Alabama, and the other one goes to college with me.
Well, I figured they would both go to Alabama because their dad did.
Well, yeah, one of them does, and the other one goes to college with me at Tennessee Tech. So, hey, they're diehard Alabama fans, though, aren't they?
Oh God, yeah, yeah, and they're great. Their dad has been like a son to me.
Okay, that's awesome. Did you play at their wedding at Keith? Did you play at Keith's wedding?
Oh yeah, I went to the wedding.
Oh, I thought Jackson told me that.
I was there. I didn't play for it.
Oh, okay. Jackson told me that he thought you played for it, so he wasn't for sure.
If they'd asked me, I would have.
That's great. Well, Bobby, I sure do appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to new stuff you put out and album, all that stuff, and love the new song with Chris. And we really appreciate your time, and hopefully we might be able to do it some other time if you don't mind.
Tell Jackson I said hello.
I will. I'll tell Jackson you said hello. So, hey, Bobby, we sure do appreciate it. Thank you for you and all your music.
Thank you, Brent, for that excellent interview, and thank you, Bobby Bear, for giving us the time to talk with you. Please rate our podcast and give us a review, and we'll be back in about a week for our next podcast episode. Thank you for listening.